Yo, what is up, guys? So as you can see, watching Tyler TJR, his trading videos and very informative. I actually like watching him lose, and it's not a thing against him, like a hating thing or anything. It's more of like watching his psychology, um, because you can learn from the lessons, right? And that's what like I'm here to do. I'm here to learn from the lessons, and he couple takeaways. So let me just make myself smaller, and then I also want to talk about my trading day from today, what it taught me, about myself, and then because it was pretty chaotic, pretty manipulative, as it is a Wednesday, which I should have been a little bit more, aware and, just, aware, just aware that, Wednesdays can be very chaotic. And so, yeah, let's get into the video. So he lost over, uh, tough loss, and it actually hurts to even, like I'm not laughing at him at all. It's lessons. That's it. But it hurts to take those lessons when you're at the top of your game, because you have this confidence that is really hard to deter you from. So your ego is really high, and you just think that you know everything. And this is the thing about the markets, is that it will always humble you no matter what. Um, and not that it'll always humble you no matter what, but more of the fact that it can humble you at when you're super confident. And so that's just something to take away. But I had actual notes here. So one thing I was just noticing was that he took a loss, and then he instantly thought, okay, well, I bet you that price is gonna go up from this area. And so it was kind of like from him having this feeling. So and that was another thing. He entered because he had a feeling that price would move from this area. And so that could also be another lesson, that not to take it. Oh man, not to take an entry just because you believe or have a feeling. After you take that first loss, it's really like zooming out and coming back into the markets. That's something that I um, I really need to start focusing on myself. But again, so he took that first loss, which was like 67 bands, and then yeah, the next two he just over risked, as you could tell. Um, so yeah, he lost around what 150K after those two losses. Well, it was 234, yeah. So it was a little bit over. It was probably like 160, almost 170K between two trades. So in total, losing that much money, it sucks. But yeah, in total, he was risking about 80K per trade, which is insane. I love to see it, but I love to see that he's risking a lot. But it hurts to fall into certain categories of lessons. But yeah, as I was saying, so he took that first trade, and then he instantly revenge traded. Um, so I'm gonna start doing something to where I'm gonna have or give myself a reset, so to speak. Okay, so when I take a trade, I'm going to. Sorry, guys, I had to just trying to clean you guys off. So when I take a trade, I'm going to look to give myself at least 30 minutes before I can take another trade. Okay, so 30 minutes before I can take another trade. Um, in those 30 minutes though, I need to do a complete reanalysis. So, just looking at the charts and completely reanalyzing, because the thing that he could have had a very good day if he, just took a step back, and instead of instantly revenge trading the same exact setup, um, which a lot of people fall into that I would call it a temptation, because it's believing you're right, believing in your bias. And which, I mean, who wouldn't believe in their bias, right? You've been doing this for a minute, but at the end of the day, it's all about like having structures and things in place to keep you from, taking those bad trades like that. So I think it was really just more psychology that really messed him up, on today especially, which was a very bearish day, and he was very bullish, which I was bullish as well. I was thinking prices were going to take out some higher time frame liquidity to the upside. We were playing in a perfect, point of interest area, key levels, all that jazz, but price just didn't do it, and it took out lower time frame liquidity, or it took out lows, and it really moved deeply. Um, but yeah, so another thing that he had, was this idea that price would just go in one direction, and he was just like, "There's no shot that price is going any lower," and this is something that is so hard to explain, because as a trader you have a bias. You're looking to, it's so confusing to like try to explain it. It's almost like paradoxical, because you are trying to really create a bias and create a narrative within what you are seeing within price, right? So you have this bias, you have this narrative, and then you are literally betting that price will either go higher or lower. And so you have that in the back of your mind, like, okay, no, price is not going to go any lower or any higher. We already took out lots of downside liquidity, blah, blah, blah. But, right, the market will humble you. Um, and that's exactly what it did. So, uh, excuse me, I'm just finished up eating. Actually, sorry, hold on one second. So, um, 17 and a half hours. So now I have 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 5 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours of eating. Sorry guys, I'm fasting and whatnot. But wait, sorry guys, sorry. Lap one. Um. Okay, so um. Yeah, and then what I noticed as well is that he was talking about moving a stop loss, if he even had one, which is kind of scary to say. I think he had one. I think he just didn't think it would get hit, because, yeah, I don't think, as a trader, I don't think you're always prepared. And so I think he had a stop loss. I think he just put it really deep and too deep, and deep to where he didn't even think that it would get hit, which is another thing, right? Which is just over risking and believing that your trade won't hit your stop ever. And this is something that I think that happened within, him taking that trade, was that he entered and he was like, "Yo, I'm long. I think that this thing is just gonna go to the roof." But what happens if it doesn't? What happens if it goes lower? What happens if it reverses on you? And that's what I don't think that he fully understood when he took this position. So, but again, having the structure of giving yourself a reset, 30 minutes before you can take another trade, that completely negates all that bias and all that, revenge trading and that emotion. Okay, this is really to keep us detached and emotionless. And I think that this would be a very good structure for anybody to follow. And you can change it up. You can go from 30 minutes to an hour. Give yourself an hour break, right, and then come back. And for me, I only take 2 trades per day. So if the first one doesn't hit, the second one is kind of like like your safety parachute, so to speak, right? If your safety parachute fails, then you're fucked on the day. You take the L and you move on. Cool. But if your second trade hits and you win, cool. Like, we're just looking to take a win, like one win, doesn't matter, right? Um, but yeah, so those are some things that I took away from his trading. Again, like, I have to, really clap it up for him. The amount of transparency for him to put this video on, losing over 230 grand, is insanity. And to see his emotions too, to see how confident he was in himself, it's really cool to, for him to show that transparency of, even though he took that L, he still doesn't give a fuck. Like, it's to him, it's just a game, and you can see the look of I mean, look at him, like, bummed the fuck out.
Big negative on this.
Like, look at his whole demeanor change, right? When prices, because
Above these lows.
he moved the stop below this low, and then watch him as it comes down, right? Watch him. Complete demeanor change. He's up here, and then he goes like this, and it's fucked, and I feel so bad because, like, damn, I already know how bad that hurt. But here, I think he's moving his stop loss lower to compensate, and I think that's why he started acting like this, and sucks. And this is, you can't get too tied up in your trade. At the end of the day, it's a fucking trade. It's a chart. Why would I ever stress or give a fuck about what these charts are saying? Like, yes, it is and can be your lifestyle and the way you make money and stuff, but at the end of the day, like, you have to have some other side money, so to speak. So I think it was just too big of a loss for him. I don't think that he knew or felt that he was going to incur the loss when he took the trade, which is just something to think about, for the next time. But yeah, so, and again, not thinking you will incur loss. Big no. So, again, kudos to him for fucking being so real. And yeah, so let's talk about today. Crazy day, guys. Crazy day. Very, very, very manipulative. Okay. And I just want to really explain, looking like a madman. That's all right, though. I love it. So here we had this order block. And, yesterday I was thinking, okay, price. And this is where I have to really, before I enter and take trades and, just take them blindly on the lower time frame, thinking that I have a previous bias and understand where the market's going, it's always key to start on these higher time frames, like the weekly, the daily, and then go down and work our way down always. No matter, if it's the next morning or if it's that same day, I feel like it would just be very, very key. So that's something I would also add. And hold on. So, like, notes from the day, right? And this is just me looking back, journaling. So, reviewing, because reviewing is so key in this game and whatnot. But yeah, so first and foremost, starting on the higher time frames, or starting, just, what would I even say? Doing an analysis, doing a daily analysis. Like, if you're looking to enter, right? If you are looking to enter, make sure you have a bias. It's that simple. If you're looking to enter, make sure you have a bias. Make sure you have an analysis. Okay, and that means you go through the different time frames. You start at the 1 week and you work your way down. Okay, start at 1 week, work our way down. Why do I say this? Because this would have given us, we would have seen certain things. Okay, we would have seen the positioning right? We would have seen our positioning. We would have seen, where exactly. And when I say positioning, I'm saying like where are we at on the chart, right? Because positioning is so key when it comes to these trades. And then we can see higher time frame point of interest areas and so on and so forth. So like right here, right, we start on the weekly and then we just zoom on down. Okay. And one thing that I've noticed is that usually within the week, you'll see prices play off of. Um, it'll be like I would say like every month, price plays into some type of a weekly point of interest area, which is very interesting. So again, every month, price will play into one of these weekly POIs, either it being an order block or a fair value gap. So like over here, right, this was the beginning of September, okay? And what do? We formed this fair value gap, and then throughout the rest of September, we pushed through this fair value gap, and then into October, then we played into the actual fair value gap. So at the end, right, we formed this during the month of September, and then we formed this one during October where we played down into the previous week. And so now it seems like, within either this week to the beginning of the month of next month, we can see prices, start to respect this area, pushing out, so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, so right here we have this weekly order block, last down candle for the up move. And that's something to take note of as well is, the 1 week POI playing into each month. So 1 week point of interest area being played into each month, okay? Slash creating a new one for the next month. So in this case, right, for October, we have this downwards bearish order block, okay? What is this bearish? My bad, guys. I have to adjust this shit. Actually, take these off real quick. What does that mean? That means that price is playing off of this area, off of this, the beginning of October. It's creating this, playing back into this September point of interest area. And let's see over here. So this was created in July, the end of July. Okay. I don't know if that would be exactly right, but the last week of July. And then we can see that it was played into in August. Okay, boom. August and September. Okay, so you could probably have 2 months of price action playing into a point of interest area, which was interesting right there. And then then price pushes higher, right? We create this in September, and then in October, price plays off of that one. So I wonder then if there are any previous, because like this right here, this would be a weekly order block turned breaker block, and this was created in March, April, May, June. Yeah, June. I don't give a fuck about the months or what dates or what numbers they correlate to. I don't care. But just never was important to me. But yeah, so price created this in June, which was just a pretty much a break retest level. That's literally it. And then what happens? Well, throughout June, we played into this area and then boom, pushed up. So nothing in July being played, or nothing on the weekly in July, which is interesting. But then again, we did create this one in July actually. So interesting, very cool that I just noticed that pattern. So maybe that's something that you can take into your trading. Sorry, let me just check this real quick. Just want to see. Okay, good. That's cool. Sorry, I entered in a position on this one, and I just wanted to check where it was at because this was a very tricky day. But yeah, so again, starting on those higher time frames, going down, working your way down, noticing if there are any weekly point of interest areas and if price could play into one, or when was the last time price did play into a weekly point of interest area. And for me, I should have been more aware of this, but yeah. So now we can go down to the daily, and then what do we see on the daily? Well, first off, I'm gonna put myself like right here, so we can keep these up here. Well, actually, I can just throw myself right there, because we don't need a, yeah. So on the daily, what am I looking for? Well, again, I don't really see much. There are, these key levels that I have for price, but yeah, there's not really much going on. We have midpoints, we have key level. All these are key levels, right? I have these ones like as like mediaries, or yeah, mediaries. I guess it's called. So like 24/5, right? 25/5, but pretty much I'm not seeing much on the daily. But what do we have? If we go to this other chart, I want to show you this real quick. We had price actually liquidate this previous high right here, so it's really hard to see. And that's the fucking trick of these charts. This is where it can be tricky, right? And this is like, as I said, the trick of the charts, so to speak, is that price had this high. We come up and we liquidate this high. It's very small. It's very, very, very small. Just like your girlfriend says. Um, and that is not me projecting. Just kidding. But yeah, so we have this happen, and then again, this was that liquidity sweep. So price pushes, but we failed. Boom. Okay. Now, why would we do this, right? Why would we sweep? Well, because we're gonna push lower. We have to take out lower time frame liquidity, and that's what that tells us right there. Um, Sorry guys, I'm gonna just keep myself right here. Sorry. Damn. Okay, maybe I'm gonna move myself. Yeah, move myself down here. I don't usually like to have myself down here, but we'll see. So, yeah, we have to take out lower time frame liquidity, right? And then what happens? Well, price is. Let me actually show this time frame. So this is my lowest. This is my execution chart, 1 hour and below, as you can see, and price, is just playing off of this 1 hour order block. So we have this last up candle before the down move. Price comes up and it's just playing off this area. It liquidates this previous high, taps into this key level, comes down, and then we're just breaking structure, moving to the downside. Breaking structure, moving to the downside. Forming lower highs constantly off these tops, and then we fall off a cliff. So I just made it seem very simple but it wasn't. It wasn't at all. Again, this was really hard to see and to think, because this was obviously a swing low of some sort. So price can play anywhere in between here, and I thought that we had this perfect, fair value gap right here, and since we had, the daily pretty much rejecting this one over here, I thought that we would just we would just shoot up for the day. Price plays off this 50 point, or this midline, this midpoint. Again, we have these EMAs as confluence, which maybe I should take these off because, again, it didn't really help. So let's see. Let me see if I could actually switch these up to make it more, with the trend, so to speak. So maybe I move it to like 90. Let's see. I'll move it to 90 and we'll see where that goes. I love how it's reacting. Save and reload. Don't know why it's doing this. Well, I know why. I'm just never gonna buy fucking. And then let's see, 50. Oh shit. No. Okay, so I'm gonna actually keep that one, and we'll see how that plays out. It looks a lot better. It's a little bit closer. Let's see if we could do like 180 or something. I don't know. I'm just trying different things. Okay, so that one's a little bit closer. And then let's do 55 right here. So that gives us more of like room for price to breathe, so to speak. Yeah, I'm just gonna delete. I'm just gonna delete one of these. I don't know. I'll play with those later. I'll see. I don't really care for them, but again, um, yeah, I'm just gonna delete them for now because it was kind of playing into my trade idea and whatnot. But again, we had this 4 hour thought price would just give us a big move. We had that daily reaction, and then we had this 4 hour that pushed really strong up into this area. But I did not notice this. Okay, I didn't notice that there was this last up candle before the down move, and this is an order block. Okay, why? Because it starts to break structure. The structure starts to shift, and then we form this lower high, then we push lower, right? Coming back up to form another lower high before we push right back down and then continue lower. So this is where, again, just having diligence and awareness for what the market could do rather than what you think it's going to do. Being able to just be like, okay, well, I think that, I do think that price can go up, but what is the trend telling me, right? What's the lower time frame trend telling me? And so, yeah, that was just a big lesson for the day. Again, I'm going to keep the EMAs off this chart just because I feel like it will add it'll make me just look at market structure and confluence and the other confluences a lot more, like the point of interest areas and using my market structure. So and liquidity concepts as well. But again, right, liquidity sweep plus if we go to like a lower time frame like the 1 hour, we can see that this is the high, right? Boom. And then this is where the structure started to shift. Market structure shift right here. So that what happens, we start pushing down, right? We start closing below to then do what? Well, we form some type of lower high, pushing higher, boom, lower high, or sorry, this is a lower low, right? But then lower high, low, again, this is a lower low too, and then boom, lower high, boom, 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 boom. Price then pushing super down, super bearish, just collecting lots of liquidity. And what did we play into? Well, we played back into this 4 hour fair value gap. So this is something that we could also, we could have easily used this for context, okay, for understanding where price could go and why it could go where it potentially could go, because we know that once we push out of this 4 hour fair value gap, it turns into an inverse fair value gap, right? So price wants to push out of this, but it has to collect downside liquidity first. And where could it do that? That's what we needed to ask ourselves, was where could it make this move? Sorry, I got bad poison ivy, so don't mind the itching. It's really bad, like it's all over my body. But yeah, and then this would simply just be, price manipulating, distributing to this area, which is in this case manipulation to then do what? Push right back up and continue the higher time frame trend, which is, in my opinion, going to be bullish. So yeah, very, very, very informative day. Again, we learned a lot. So, I don't count that as an L whatsoever. We might have taken L's on the day, but we learned from it, and that's what all that matters. So we come back next time stronger, and that's the mindset, right? Um, and yeah, you can kind of see too, like this was messing with me. So price was just playing off the top of this 4 hour fair value gap as well. And I was like, oh yeah, this thing's gonna shoot up, and then it was like, I was like, fuck, what are you doing to me, baby? Uh, so like you can see right here, I was buying, and it was a beautiful entry. And I would have capitalized. I would have been done for the day if price just went a little bit higher, okay? But it didn't, and that's all that matters. So yeah, lost a couple of good trades, and then I was just right here revenge trading. That's all that was. I was just simply revenge trading. I don't even take that as an L because that's just something that we don't do. We don't revenge trade. There's no reason for it. We know that the higher version of ourselves would never revenge trade. We just wait for the next trade to show up, and that's it. So, yeah. And then also, I wanted to make note. Um, I was actually entering in on beautiful entries, lower time frame wise. Okay, so I was seeing liquidity sweeps and then price reversing, and these were all. Sorry, guys. Let me put these back on. Sorry, I got bad. I don't know if it's mosquitoes out here, but I know it's both. There's mosquitoes out here, and I have bad poison ivy, so I'm not trying to get super messed up out here and scratch everything on my body. Um, but like right here, right, we saw the trend was going down, and initially I was buying. I was thinking, okay, this is just going to be that move that pushes price, and we're going to start soaring. But then what happened? I started to see price reverse, and then I got liquidated. I got stopped out. And then what happened? Well, price came down. So then I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna short. Price started shorting. Cool. But then it came back up, slightly stopped me out. I was like, fuck, man, because I was in like good profits on both. But then I just got stopped because that's the thing is like you'll be in decent profits for a second, and then price will stop you out. That's what happened. And then yeah, price then came down into this area, and I would have been done for the day as well if I would have just kept my fucking initial idea, you know. So that's another confidence thing. It's not being confident enough in your ability and not being confident enough in your ideas, which is a tough lesson because it's one of those simple ones that you just follow, right? But again, you have to be like a cat. You have to be quick on your feet, and you have to be aware of anything and everything that could happen within these charts. So but yeah, again, I saw the structure start to shift, and so when we took out these lows, I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna buy because we swept out these lows, and then the structure started to shift. So then I entered in, boom, price starts pushing throughout the night, and I was like, cool, I'm up like 3 on this trade, okay. But then what happens? Price then boom comes right back down, and I move my stop to break even. I should have moved it at least into a little bit of profit. I don't know why I didn't do that. That's a lesson that just moving. I'm gonna write it down because I need to. Moving stop loss into profits, and it, like there's many different ways of thinking about it, but my idea is like I'm initially entering in this position with X amount of risk. I am willing to lose this amount of risk. And if price doesn't, if price starts moving in my direction, then cool. Um, Maybe I should look to, I feel like maybe entering in more positions at the right time would be a good idea as well because you're already in the trade. Why not add? You're already in risk pretty much. Why not add in another position to really capitalize and make the trade a lot less time wise, right? Because we don't want to be in the trade for very long. We want to get out as soon as possible, so to speak. So maybe that would be something that I try for next time. Um, because this, if I would have added to this at the right time, that would have been a very good trade. Although I didn't really have the capital to, it's whatever. But yeah, it would have been a lot quicker on getting hit, on like the trade getting hit. Um, so maybe I do that. That'll be something I'll try. Moving stop loss into profits, plus adding in size when in trade slash profits. Or it could be like when price comes back down, retest, because when price retest, that would be the best area for entry, and then it continues higher. So there's just different dynamic risk settings and risk options that we can do here. But yeah, so the market structure started to shift. We pushed up into this area. Now notice the same thing that happened previous happened back here. So we liquidated the previous highs, and then what happened? We instantly start to break the structure. Market structure started to shift. Boom, boom. Okay, that's when I got stopped. I was like, fuck. Price then pushes right back up. into this structure shift, and then boom, what do we do? Push down lower, and yeah, I mean, like simply, if you would have just had a different bias, a different perspective on this, you'd have had a very good day. And it's just that simple. It's again, it's nothing crazily, overtly, complicated. It's really simple. Context, positioning, these are all like key things, right? Context, positioning, all major lessons that need to be learned. And I'm right there. I already know I'm right there. So, um, taking less trades on the day. You know, again, these are all things, right? Less trades on the day, maximum 2 trades, and yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. And another thing I would say too is just following the structure, following the trend, what it's doing. Like that's like one of the most simple things I could say. Like when you're seeing the structure start to, like you're just literally looking for break retest, break retest, break retest, break retest. Like yes, point of interest areas are cool and they can give you some beautiful risk to reward ratio trades, but if you just find a trend and then just trade the structure, like that would be so simple. So but yeah, that's all I got. Again, liquidity, break retest levels, which is just basic market structure ideas. All simple shit. But yeah, guys, I love y'all. Peace. I'm out.